design is very unique for this period of time.
They're unearthing remarkable new evidence of poisoned water.
One drop on your tongue would kill you.
And vicious jungle battles.
These pictures can help us to understand warfare.
Hidden temples.
1,600 years ago, a Maya person will be here, standing in front of a building.
And divine rulers who began to lose their grip on power.
And I was like, what did we just find?
In the process, they unravel the true story of the Maya at this crucial point in their history, and expose the sequence of events that forced them to desert their cities. In the rainforest of northern Guatemala lies one of the world's greatest lost cities, Tikal. Built by the ancient Maya civilization some 2,000 years ago. Archaeologist Edwin Roman Ramirez has been exploring this region for the past 20 years. Today, the tropical rainforest obscures all but the tallest pyramids.
When you look over here, you have to imagine the over here was covered by houses, like at least 23 kilometers that way was not a single tree. Maybe some areas that were farming, some gardens. Was a very large city. Tikal was almost like 160 square kilometers. It's huge, it's massive. Everywhere that you see here will be a building, will be a house.
Investigations and aerial scanning at Tikal have allowed archaeologists to understand what the city once looked like. When Tikal was in its prime, it was immense. The Maya built a dense ceremonial center, with at least 5 pyramids towering up to 70 meters tall. Tikal was once home to an estimated 90,000 people.
They were some of the largest buildings in the Maya world for sure at that time. And you can see how they start to get very more creative. And this is the hallmark of Tikal.
Today, more than 6,000 ancient structures have been identified in Tikal. Grand monuments built during the so-called classic era of the Maya civilization. The era was the golden age of the Maya. It lasted from around 250 to 900 AD. It was when many great cities were built.
When we refer to the Maya, we're talking about huge settlements that we can call capitals, but of course all the area was highly populated. I mean, the achievements they have, the development, their technology, it's overwhelming.
During the 8th century, the estimates range from 7 to 11 million people. I mean, you compare that to any part of the world in that period, this is incredible.
The classic era was marked by the presence of powerful kings, ruling from their pyramid-filled cities.
They achieved something that the Egyptians did, really steep pyramids.
The king positioned himself at the top of those pyramids and officiating the most important rituals as the personified deity itself. So those buildings legitimize the supernatural source of power of Maya kings and queens.
In places like Tikal, the rulers lived with other elite people near the city's ceremonial heart. But valuable clues about Tikal's history and fate could lie in the homes of common people. In the east of the city, Edwin's colleague, Cristina Garcia Leal, is excavating the house of a non-elite family. It was a Maya tradition to bury their dead beneath the floors of buildings, and the team recently discovered a body here.
Look how's it going over here.
It's good. We removed the body and now we have the 3 glass vessels to clean.
It looks so good. They are not broken. They don't have any scratches.
Nope, not broken, and this one has it's polychrome coated.
The both of them?
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
So this is it's a cup, and it was used for drinking hot chocolate. And it's a very normal thing to drink back then. A very common drink. So you can see there was a line coming here, red on top, a black line coming underneath, and you can see that there were figures drawn in it and a red border in the bottom. These three vessels are part of the offering associated to the burial that we found here. So you can see the body was laid this way. There was also another plate that was turned upside down and placed behind the head of the individual as a sort of pillow or a resting place for the head.
The design is very unique for this period of time, and that will help us to date this burial.
Edwin can use these ceramics and others unearthed across Tikal to reconstruct a timeline of the city and find out how Tikal fits into the history of the Maya Classic era. At his field laboratory, Edwin's team study pottery artifacts they've unearthed in dwellings of common people at Tikal. The techniques that the Maya used to manufacture and decorate ceramics changed over time. The team can link these telltale changes to specific time periods.
In this small table, we are seeing more than 1,000 years of occupation of Tikal. We can see through ceramics that this is the beginning of Tikal. They are monochromatic, and normally they are red, black, and this is when Tikal was a really small city.
This pottery is from 350 BC, after the Maya had settled here and established the city.
And now we can see a change. This is the beginning of the classic period. We start to have more colors, and what we are seeing over here is a change of technology. This is around the year 250, and this is when Tikal starts to become the more important city in the Maya region. Later on, we start to have another time. This is the classic period from around 600 to 800 AD. This is when Tikal was in his peak. Here we are seeing the last 200 years of occupation of Tikal. And you can see again, the shape is different. And that's how ceramics help us to see and reconstruct this society from the beginning to the end.
The evidence shows that Tikal's power spanned the full duration of the Maya Classic era. And it reveals that at the end of that era, around 900 AD, Tikal was mysteriously deserted. The Maya left this immense city and abandoned its pyramids to the jungle, never to return and build large-scale monuments here again. Investigations across the Maya region have shown that Tikal wasn't alone. Many cities, particularly in the Maya lowlands, were deserted. The building of grand monuments suddenly ceased.
Whatever system existed in 500 and 600 and 700, it broke down between 8 and 900 AD, such that most classic Maya kingdoms were simply abandoned to the forest. People could not live there anymore.
Public buildings were abandoned because to really have public buildings in good shape, you need to have a good government and you have to have some kind of social stability.
The mystery of what caused the collapse of urban Maya society in this area has puzzled archaeologists for decades. One long-standing theory is that cities ran out of water for their growing populations.
You're not supposed to have giant cities in a tropical forest. It's thin soils, few rivers, and a long dry season. The real secret of the Mayas is their ability to preserve water during a dry season, which to the north at places like Tikal is 6 months.
In Tikal today, Edwin has mapped and investigated more than 70 square kilometers around the city. So he understands the challenge the Maya faced.
The closest rivers are like 30 kilometers far away from Tikal, and the lake and is 40 kilometers away. The Mayas need to get creative and start to think how we can survive in this very difficult environment. Our colleagues have been excavating this area, and we know that was modified by the Maya. There used to be a natural spring that runs behind the palace. And what they did is they start to build dams.
The Maya built an ingenious system of reservoirs to collect and store water at Tikal. Some reservoirs were even fitted with a filtration system. Builders imported sand and a special rock called zeolite from over 25 kilometers away, allowing water to run through it and be cleaned. Reservoirs concentrated the population and the power of rulers who controlled the city. Now, a team think that investigating the reservoirs forensically might expose clues about why cities were abandoned. David Lentz is an archaeobotanist who specializes in the study of ancient living environments. His team has already taken samples from reservoirs in Tikal and is now working at an ancient Maya city 90 kilometers away called Calakmul.
This is an interesting site because it's right next to the palace area here. So if you can imagine, there were 24 million liters of water in this reservoir. So it is an enormous structure. If I was back in Maya times, I would be underwater right now.
Today, he's taking samples of genetic material known as environmental or eDNA. He'll use the samples to identify the organisms present in the water.
We're going to look at the vegetation that surrounded their reservoirs and what kind of plants they grew for food. There are many mysteries, and hopefully we'll provide some answers. Now what we're going to do is we're going to shave down the wall, try to keep it clean, because you can see this is kind of older stuff here. It's been exposed for a few days. So we want everything to be nice and fresh for us. We're going to take one eDNA sample from each 20 centimeters.
David will take these samples to his laboratory. The results from this reservoir and from Tikal will expose new evidence about the desertion of Maya cities. In the United States, at the University of Cincinnati, David Lentz will analyze samples he took from ancient Maya reservoirs. Today, he's looking for evidence of environmental DNA in samples from Tikal.
This came from the Temple Reservoir. In addition to looking for DNA, we have looked for different kinds of contaminants from the reservoirs. Hi, here's the samples that we want to use for DNA extraction.
Excellent. Let's see what plants are around.
All right.
The team pulverized soil samples to release any DNA attached to the particles. They separate the DNA from any remaining soil particles by spinning the samples rapidly. They'll use chemicals to remove organic compounds until they're only left with DNA.
Well, this is the exciting moment. We get to see if all of that work has resulted in DNA in our samples, and I have high hopes. Wow. Now we have beautiful DNA from Tikal in front of us.
Environmental DNA has revolutionized research. New analysis techniques can identify plants and species from the genetic material they leave in the environment.
The remarkable thing is that in these 2 microliters of DNA that we measured, there can be DNA from hundreds and hundreds of plant species.
When David studies sequences of DNA from the reservoirs at Tikal, the results are groundbreaking.
This shows that there were serious infestations of cyanobacteria in at least 2 of the reservoirs. And these are a group of blue-green algae that produce incredibly toxic microsystems and extremely dangerous because one drop on your tongue would kill you.
The reservoir at Tikal Center had no effective filter system, and uncontrolled bacteria growth might have been caused by food waste, poisoning the water.
This was a big problem, especially the palace reservoir. Having the water turn green right in front of the palace of the ruler then the people must have seen this as a failing of their leadership.
And that's not all. David's team also detect mercury in the water samples, at a level 17 times higher than is safe for humans. At Tikal, the source of mercury has been linked to paint production, especially a red pigment that the Maya used on a wide scale.
And one thing the Maya would use as a pigment was cinnabar, which is mercury sulfate. And so there would be a constant buildup in mercury in the sediments and in the waters of the reservoir. And so the rulers were consuming mercury every day in their food. And this would have created a real problem for them. One of the effects of the mercury, there's a condition they call metabolic syndrome. And one of the symptoms of that is people become enormously obese.
This ancient carving shows one of the last rulers of Tikal, a man known as Dark Sun, who is clearly shown as obese.
And also it affects their neurology in their brain and elsewhere. It would have perhaps affected their mental acuity and their ability to make good decisions.
These astonishing new discoveries suggest that contaminated water put the authority of Tikal's rulers under pressure, possibly contributing to the city's collapse. And now, evidence is showing that pressure on the rulers was magnified by conflict. In Guatemala, near the center of Tikal, Edwin is investigating the giant pyramids.
In Tikal, we have at least 5 big temples. This is one of them. This is the first one, and date around 600 AD. It's almost 50 meters tall.
The rulers of Tikal ordered pyramids built as symbols of power, but also of war.
They tried to show how powerful you are. They were used to commemorate the victories of Tikal against other cities, and also make the people of this city feel proud about it, because the war was not won only by kings, also was won by all the army and all the people from this city.
Could war have led to the collapse of this great city? And who was Tikal fighting against? Clues lie 90 kilometers north of Tikal, in the ancient Maya city of Calakmul, across the border into Mexico. It was ruled by the Canul dynasty, known also as the Snake Kingdom. This city covers some 70 square kilometers. David Lentz is investigating the tallest pyramid at Calakmul.
Right. Try to imagine what this would have been like when the Maya were here. That all of the forest here, much of it would have been cleared. There were agricultural fields, there were houses that extend close to the horizon. My personal estimates would be somewhere between 50,000 and 100,000 people lived here, and over 6,000 structures. So this was a great metropolis.
Calakmul was settled as far back as 800 BC. But most of the larger buildings were constructed later, during the Maya Classic era. This was a city to rival Tikal in power and beauty.
Is an enormous amount of energy, and also a lot of planning that went into this. The internal rooms had to be supported by large beams from trees that were specially picked out of the rainforest. This was an enormous undertaking.
The Canul dynasty who ruled Calakmul had ambitions to seize power from their southern neighbors in Tikal. And soon large-scale clashes broke out between the two regional powers. Now archaeologists are beginning to understand Maya warfare in more detail. In Mexico City, at the National Museum of Anthropology, historian Gabriela Rivera Acosta is investigating remarkable images from the ancient Maya site of Bonampak.
These pictures can help us to understand warfare. for example, who was involved in warfare. The nobility have the most complex weaponry system. The common people use something more simple, like just a little spear and a circular shield. Because we must understand in the context of how the warfare is so important for the Maya in the classic times.
The Maya depicted how prisoners were captured and body parts kept as human trophies.
They can take the head of his enemy and take to their own city.
These images give archaeologists an idea of how Maya conflict played out.
Sometimes we can find tiny battles, but in some other we can find huge wars to involve a lot of allies.
If a city like Calakmul was to defeat the powerful Tikal in battles like this, they would need to find allies to support them. And clues to where they've found support might be hiding in a mysterious lost city. In the 1960s, stone carvings began showing up in museums across the world. Artifacts taken by looters from an unknown Maya city that was nicknamed Site Q. Eventually, a location was identified. Today, archaeologists are heading to the lost Maya city. Site Q is now known as La Corona. It's a remote location and difficult to access. Tomás Barrientos and Marcelo Canuto lead the team here. Marcelo found ultimate proof that this city is indeed Site Q.
What I found in 2005 was a panel that was identical in style to the panels that had been looted. And it not only was identical in style, but it talked about the same historical figures that were mentioned in these other panels. So we had panels from all over the world that mentioned King so-and-so, right? And maybe a little bit of text that tells us he was born here or something along those lines. The panels that I found here talked about that exact same king. And so it became clear that La Corona and Site Q were one and the same.
The looted stone panels gave tantalizing clues about the city's link with the much larger city of Calakmul and its Kanul dynasty rulers.
Site Q talked about this site's relationship with the Kanul kingdom located at Calakmul. So everybody knew that Site Q was related in a very close and intimate way with the dynasty at Calakmul. So finding the actual place that was associated with Site Q allowed us to say, okay, now we can ask why here? Why would Kanul be interested in this spot?
The team needed to find more evidence of the link between Calakmul and La Corona.
Well, here we are in the main square of La Corona.
What's fascinating is the fact that what you see is this kind of flat area with a lot of trees, but you have to imagine it completely free of trees.
The ceremonial center of La Corona was formed from dozens of buildings, arranged around a wide central plaza where ceremonies and gatherings would have taken place. On the east side stood two 15-meter-tall temples, facing a palace where the royal families lived. It was built in a fertile area with an abundance of water.
So these would have been brilliant, bright, colorful places, teeming with people coming to maybe seek an audience with the king, or come to buy and sell some objects or some tools.
It was a very lively place with lots of people. However, La Corona did not have a population as big as some cities that had 20, 30 or 80,000 inhabitants like Tikal. Here there was more like 5 to 8,000 inhabitants. It was a small city.
It was in this ceremonial center that the team would soon find evidence of the link between La Corona and the Kanul leaders of Calakmul.
This is where the structure appeared 5 years ago.
When we got here years ago, we saw this earthen mound. And then there was a tree also growing here that, with its roots, looked like it was part of the mass of earth and so forth. Then we got LiDAR.
When the team examined LiDAR scans of the area, the high-resolution map of the ground's contours showed something unusual.
When we looked at the LiDAR, every little white dot represents a separate building. At La Corona, we knew that these were all separate buildings. You could see them. But what we didn't realize was that this was a building. This white dot here. We realized, that looks man-made. Let's investigate it.
LiDAR revealed that the mound concealed a hidden structure.
We're right in front of a building, so it has this sort of a smooth, what looks like a slope. But what you have to imagine here is essentially where that root is that's coming out of the ground, that would have been the level of the ceiling, so the roof.
The team unearthed a small temple. There were no doors, but it had columns on either side of the entrance. And inside, on the central axis facing upwards, an intricately carved altar.
And I was like, what did we just find?
The altar, displayed in its own temple at La Corona, must have been conveying important information to the Maya who lived here.
It was a beautiful altar, perfectly preserved, that talked about a period of time that we knew was really important, and that really gave us something quite fascinating.
It took the team almost 2 years to safely retrieve the huge limestone block so that they could study it further. It's almost 1.5 meters long and 1.2 meters wide, and it weighs nearly a ton. Today, it's safely stored in the Museum of Guatemala City.
Every time I see it, it's like feeling the same emotion as when we first saw it in La Corona.
The hieroglyphs on this altar give Tomas important information about La Corona's link with the Canul dynasty of Calakmul, a family known as the Snake Kings.
Here we see the portrait of King Chak Toki Chak of La Corona. The king holds a scepter with a two-headed snake. But the most important thing is the relationship between La Corona and the Snake dynasty. Here we see on the altar the king of La Corona invoking 2 of the 3 gods, who are the patrons of La Corona. But we think that these gods were imposed by the Canuls.
The altar reveals that the Canul dynasty of Calakmul imposed their power and influence over La Corona, gaining an important ally in their quest to overcome their rivals at Tikal.
This is something that we've seen in other cities. But here in La Corona, I think this is the important point of what was an alliance of over 2 centuries. It's rare to see 2 Maya cities establishing an alliance that lasted for that long.
Now we can ask, why here? Why would Canul be interested in this spot on the map? And one of the things that really became clear to us is that when you look at the location of the site of La Corona relative to Calakmul and its enemy Tikal, this place is strategic.
As time went by, the Canul dynasty spread its power and advanced towards Tikal. By the 6th century, confrontation was widespread. These 2 superpowers dragged allied cities into their power struggle. The Canuls of Calakmul eventually won the upper hand, as explained by carvings at the Tikal-controlled city of Dos Pilas.
This is the record of one particular ruler. His name was Balak Chand Awil. His brother or half-brother was the king at Tikal, and they were in conflict with one another. And what this inscription tells us is this: the Lord flips him, turns him over to become an ally of the Canuls against his own family, essentially, at Tikal.
There's been a common use of the metaphor of a Game of Thrones example. Sometimes alliances collapsed, and people who were married in a previous generation that were friends were now enemies. I like to think it may be a game, but it was a deadly game.
Balach Ankawil was really instrumental in helping expand the Kanuls all throughout that area of the Maya lowlands in this rivalry against Tikal.
In 679 AD, the Kanuls of Kalak Mul finally conquered Tikal. But their victory didn't last long.
Tikal turned the tables on the Snake Kingdom and defeated their ruler, and then after that, Kalakmul went into decline, and Tikal became the preeminent city of the lowland Maya area.
Clashes would continue well into the 800s, and constant conflict took its toll.
There's no real winner in this war, as it turns out, that played itself out over the Classic period for centuries. And the most records of war that we have in the inscriptions comes right before the collapse. I think that is an indication of what was happening and of how everything fell apart. Clearly warfare was important and maybe even the driving factor in that.
With war weakening Tikal, Kalak Mul and their allied cities, the rulers' control hung in the balance. At Tikal, leaders needed to demonstrate their power to maintain control of their people. They demanded ever larger pyramids be built, towering symbols of authority. Now, investigations are exposing how they were able to keep building ever bigger structures. Not far from the city's ceremonial center, Edwin Roman Ramirez's team are tunneling into the north face of a 13-meter-tall temple.
We're seeing how Mayas built these big structures. We go and we make these tunnels to go and be able to understand the beginning of this building.
Clues in the construction show that the Maya were building on top of older structures, expanding them over time.
They have one structure and they start to build one on the top and another on the top. Now here we are seeing this is the construction field that they used to cover this building right here. And that's how we know the history of this building.
What started out as small pyramids were expanded over time by successive rulers, each eager to show off their power and commemorate events. Sometimes kings were even buried inside the stacked pyramids. As Edwin's team tunnel even further into the monument, they discover astonishing proof of this stacked building concept.
1,600 years ago, a Maya person will be here, standing in front of a building. You have to remove all of this. This is a construction that was built later, and that's how we can see these are different stages. This specific building has at least 7 different layers of constructions that start around the year 250, and the last version is around 500 AD.
Even with this layering technique, the huge pyramids and temples in Tikal took a great deal of effort and resources to build. Tensions mounted in the face of constant conflict and poisoned water supplies.
So they built bigger temples and more rituals. And that, of course, solved nothing. In fact, it made it worse. This enormous waste of energy, a symbol of growing inequality, all these problems were building up. And the people were hungry and so on. It just made the people more irritated.
Escalating problems posed a challenge to the power of rulers who were supposed to be divine.
The rulers in the classic period were the link between the deities and the mortals. And if they are failing on that, what's happening? I mean, I'm going to be unsatisfied. I'm going to be angry. So then I'm going to be like, I don't trust them. I don't respect them anymore. I don't see why I should be keeping them and giving them all I'm supposed to do if they are not fulfilling their job. And that really creates a lot of instabilities.
Now, new research suggests that the divine nature of the rulers might have been put to the ultimate test. In the forests near Calakmul, David Lentz is exploring the areas where the Maya once lived.
You can see here that this is a large house group with a platform made of stone. And there was probably some kind of wooden structure on top of this.
He's looking for evidence of how the Maya sought to control their natural environment.
Ah, está bien. ¿No hay frutas y flores en este árbol? Okay. The purpose of doing these modern vegetation studies is to give us a benchmark so we can compare the modern forest and evaluate what the ancient forest was like.
Studies like this allow archaeologists to understand how the Maya managed the forests around their cities, utilizing trees like the Manilcara sapota.
Oh, this is an interesting tree. This was a very important tree to the ancient Maya. It was used for the lintels for the big temples. And they use this kind of wood because it's very durable and very tough, and it can withstand the weight of many stones up on top of it.
The demand on the forests was high because wood was used in many ways. At Tikal, firewood was vital for the production of a special building material. Today, the buildings of Tikal appear to be formed of exposed stone, but they once looked very different. Underground, the Maya habit of building over the top of existing buildings lets Edwin see what the exterior originally looked like.
Over here, you can see how they build it. You have limestone blocks, and they cover all of this with the stucco. Stucco is to decorate the building, also is helping to insulate the core of the building from water, from the sun. They were not thinking those buildings for a short period of time. They were thinking that they were gonna last.
When Tikal was at its height, its buildings looked very different to today. The Maya covered almost every surface of their monuments and floors in stucco, which they painted in bright colors. Maya builders made stucco by burning and then crushing limestone into a powder.
They knew how to produce it in a massive way to be able to completely cover the entire city. And we are talking about kilometers of square kilometers of stucco.
It's estimated that for every square meter, the Maya needed to burn 20 trees to produce the stucco needed. The consequences would be immense. David Lentz thinks that deforestation might have contributed to the abandonment of Maya cities.
There's evidence coming out of Brazil that shows that when a certain percentage of the forest is cleared, and that's like 30% of the forest, that changes the pattern of rainfall. When you have a rainforest, the roots of the trees suck that water up and bring it back up to the surface through transpiration, and this adds to the water cycle. We have studied Tikal for a decade now, and we know from the pollen evidence that they had cleared about 60% to 70% of the forest. They kept the other 40% and protected it and conserved it, but still they had cleared about 2/3 of the land. So it was too much.
Experts have found that a series of multi-decade droughts in the 9th century caused famine. Drought could have been the final nail in the coffin for the rulers who sought to convince their people of their divine status. The abandonment of Tikal and other large cities at the end of the Classic era, around 900 AD, would have a domino effect on smaller cities like La Corona.
We see how the smaller cities couldn't maintain their population on their own because they relied on interdependence with other cities.
The system was kind of fragmented and breaking up politically, economically, and so people started to basically leave these centers. And by the mid-9th century or so, this place was a shell of itself. And certainly by the 900s, it was abandoned. Then, of course, the forest grew back and eventually just took over the site, and that's what we have today.
Then the classical cities remained abandoned for many centuries. And although they evoked a certain memory, they started to get lost in people's memories. So much so that the rediscovery of these cities happened almost 1,000 years later.
Today, at cities like Tikal, hundreds of abandoned buildings are waiting to be reclaimed from the forest and restored to their former glory. Each one a testament to the architectural ingenuity of the Maya, and a reminder that once these ceremonial centers were deserted, many weren't returned to by the Maya. But the abandonment of these cities might not have been as sudden as archaeologists once thought. Outside the ceremonial center of Tikal, Edwin's team are uncovering settlements that were still used after monumental building ceased.
In the central area where the monumental architecture was placed, most of the royal family had to move. But when you talk about the process of abandonment of a city, it's not something that happened fast. In this case, we know it's 200 years. People start to migrate, looking for better places to live. And what we know is that people didn't disappear. It's not the end of Maya culture. It's a transition.
The centers of power were abandoned. The main buildings were abandoned. The structures that serve for public services or for public performances, but that doesn't mean that people fled away like it was thought before. Big cities eventually got abandoned because their structure or their layout was not what was needed.
Some Maya moved south, to the highlands where population centers endured, while others chose to migrate north towards emerging powers like Chichen Itza. Today, new discoveries and excavations are giving archaeologists a much clearer understanding of the so-called collapse of the Maya Classic era.
Most of us, we don't use that word anymore because collapse means rupture. It's a complete fracture, like saying before and after, like if there was not a link. The thing is that it took a long time to understand what happened.
Now, archaeologists are uncovering the combination of events that led divine rulers of grand cities like Tikal and Calakmul to gradually lose their power and influence. How wars weakened big cities and their allies. The impact of poisoned water supplies and drought on large populations. And on the authority of their leaders. That resources squandered on giant pyramids and lavishly colored cities might have led to environmental collapse. But also, how the desertion of ceremonial centers and a fall in the power of divine rulers didn't mean the loss of the Maya civilization itself.
The dazzling cities of the ancient Maya, built by one of the most sophisticated civilizations in history.
The Maya people were as advanced as any of the ancient civilizations of the world.
For 3,000 years, the ancient Maya dominated Central America. They founded powerful kingdoms and built towering temples, ruled over by formidable kings and queens.
Maya rulers lived lives of incredible privilege, but there was a price to be paid.
But their lives remained shrouded in mystery. Who were they, and how did they live and die? With exclusive access, our experts embark on a groundbreaking 2-year investigation, using space technology to hunt for a long-dead king inside this intriguing temple.
ですからこの石室の隣に私は応募があるというふうに
Scanning the jungle with LiDAR to uncover astonishing secrets about the scale of their kingdoms.
We didn't have any clue how big they were.
And using pioneering geological techniques to hunt for answers about why this great society collapsed.
They may have think it could have been the end of the world.
To solve these mysteries, we bring this remarkable world back to life in vivid 3D and explore the lavish tombs of kings to shed new light on the life and death of the ancient Maya. The Maya were one of the most advanced ancient cultures the world has ever seen. They were pioneers in art, architecture, writing, and maths. At its height, the Maya region covered more than 250,000 square kilometers in Central America, with dozens of independent city-states, each ruled by a powerful king, much like the kingdoms of ancient Greece. David Sadat has been studying the Maya for over 40 years. He investigates how they grew and thrived.
They developed a numerical system, astronomy that was incredibly precise, huge pyramids, platforms. By any standards, the Maya were astoundingly sophisticated.
How did these impressive people live and die? And what caused their glorious civilization to break down? Searching for answers, a unique team of Japanese experts heads to one of the most important Maya cities of all. Capan, in what is now Honduras. In its heyday, Capan was a spectacular city, home to over 20,000 people. Towering, brightly painted temples rose over 30 meters from the jungle floor. It had wide-open plazas with stunning carvings and sculptures. Ball courts for sporting and ceremonial events, and magnificent staircases. For almost half a millennium, Capan was the capital of a vast kingdom covering 350 square kilometers, ruled by a powerful dynasty of 16 kings. Yet, despite the legacy they left behind, much of their rise and fall remains unknown. How did Capan's rulers become so successful, and what happened to them? To solve these mysteries, the Japanese team gears up for a pioneering experiment. They are led by Seiichi Nakamura. He hopes to find answers to riddles that have puzzled archaeologists for decades.
で現在我々が調査しているところはまさにそのコパン王朝史の中の特にわからない部分に集中的に調査をしております。
Could clues lie hidden inside the city's once magnificent temples? One stands out, the mysterious Temple 11. Seiichi believes that it contains the last resting place of one of Capan's 16 kings. Archaeologists have searched for almost 2 centuries, but only around 8 royal tombs have ever been found. Finding another could revolutionize experts' understanding of what happened to them.
王朝史がはっきりすればですね、なぜですねこの地に王朝ができたのか、で、その最後の部分ですね、どうして王朝が衰退して、滅んでいったのかということ。
The team plans to use cutting-edge space technology called muon imaging to scan the structure and look for a tomb. In 2017, they used this innovative technique to scan Egypt's Great Pyramid. The images revealed a mysterious hidden cavity. Now, they hope to use the same technology to make an even more spectacular discovery here in Kapan. As cosmic rays hit the Earth's atmosphere, they create showers of subatomic particles called muons. They pass through matter with ease, and with the right detection equipment, they can reveal cavities in large objects, invisible even to X-rays. By placing muon detection plates on large buildings, scientists can spot previously undiscovered hidden spaces. The team wants to apply the muon technique to Copan's Temple 11 and search for a tomb buried inside it. Seiichi hopes this will be the first step to finding one of the missing kings of Copan.
それが投資計画によって内部構造が少しでもはっきりすれば、最小の破壊で最大の効果を上げる効果的な調査ができるだろう。
If they find a tomb, not only could it reveal the untold history of the city, it could also contain priceless treasures. It's every archaeologist's dream, and they know it's happened before. 420 kilometers northwest of Copan lies Palenque, now in modern Mexico. Rodrigo Liendo has been studying this magnificent city for more than 25 years.
This is the main plaza at Palenque. Palenque was the capital of a vast territory in the northwestern lowlands. It's famous for its remarkable architectural style.
Between the 5th and 9th centuries AD, Palenque controlled an area of almost 130 square kilometers and was home to more than 7,000 people. At the heart of the city stands the Temple of Inscriptions. At 60 meters wide and nearly 30 meters high, it's one of the most magnificent monuments in the Maya world.
The actual function of this building remained in mystery for many centuries. People really thought that this was probably just for ceremonial performance, nothing else.
This incredible monument hides dramatic secrets. Rodrigo explores inside. He finds peculiar circular plugs in the floor.
There was a very long period of speculation about the function of this strange feature here. And they are actually holes in two of the major slabs that compose the floor.
The mysterious holes baffled archaeologists until they realized that if they passed a rope through the holes, they could lift the slab and look underneath.
They found an amazing discovery. The first step to a staircase that goes downward inside the building.
The team spent 2 years excavating this staircase.
The expectation of finding something really great grew and grew. Every single step that was uncovered was one step closer to this huge discovery.
Hidden at the end of the tunnel lies the find of a lifetime. An ancient tomb sitting in the heart of the pyramid. In the center is a spectacular 20-ton stone sarcophagus. It's so big, the temple must have been built around it. Under a lid covered with intricate carvings are the remains of a man, surrounded by priceless treasures. Who is he? When experts examined inscriptions on the temple, they discovered a name: Pakal the Great.
Pakal the Great was the most important king in Palenque's history. It was a period of peace, of incredible developments in architecture, craftsmanship. Pakal took Palenque to its peak in political power.
What can objects buried with Pakal reveal about the treasures that the Japanese team might discover in their new investigation? In the tomb, archaeologists found exquisite jade jewelry, shells, and a spectacular death mask.
The mask is completely green, made of mainly pure jade of the most excellent quality. So this is a priceless piece of craftsmanship, probably one of the most spectacular works of art done by ancient Maya people.
The mask has important spiritual significance.
Mask represented the person in his youth. This was an attempt to freeze youth for eternity in his way to the underworld.
The splendor and wealth of this incredible tomb made headlines around the world.
The discovery of Pakal's tomb was one of the most significant archaeological discoveries of the last century. It was a game changer.
Could the groundbreaking new investigations at Copan reveal an even greater king inside this temple? And can strange carvings help to point the way? The city of Copan was one of the most important in the Maya world. Its monuments are covered with mysterious imagery, clues to how the Maya lived and died. René Viel has been studying the site for 40 years.
In the early 20th century, the archaeologists were puzzled by those inscriptions. They did not know what those inscriptions represented. If it was a language or if it was just a pictorial writing.
Experts knew that decoding these baffling designs would revolutionize their understanding of the Maya, but they were impossible to read.
The idea was that all these writings were related to calendar and religion. You know, in archaeology, when there is something you cannot understand, we say it's religious.
What secrets are locked inside this mysterious code? Maya expert Panos Kratimenos finds answers in the pages of an ancient book. It's known as the Dresden Codex, and it's about 800 years old.
Before the Spanish conquest, there would have been thousands of these codices around the Maya world. Partially, they didn't survive owing to preservation, but the greatest single loss of these books was caused by the Spanish conquerors burning them as idolatry and the work of the devil.
Only 4 codices have survived. For centuries, scholars believed that they held the key to understanding the Maya inscriptions, and through those, the entire Maya culture.
You have wonderful illustrations of people, animals, supernatural deities, but they're completely surrounded by these symbols that for a long time we had no idea what they actually meant. It's like trying to put together a jigsaw puzzle with a large part of the pieces missing and with no picture as reference.
But over decades of painstaking analysis, scholars gradually began to spot clues.
In this image from the Dresden Codex, we can see an illustration of a dog with writing all around it. So it stands to reason that somewhere in that text is probably the word for dog. This realization was one of the big pieces of the puzzle in deciphering Maya hieroglyphs.
It took dozens of scholars over a century to decipher the text. When they finally did, they realized this is one of the most sophisticated writing systems ever seen. Western languages use the 26 letters of the alphabet to create the words in their vocabulary. Chinese writing uses over 50,000 symbols that can stand for whole words or concepts. Maya writing has 800 glyphs, written in paired columns from left to right. They represent both syllables and whole words. Balam, the word for jaguar, can be written as a picture, as 3 separate syllables, or a combination of both, making Maya writing extremely complex. Deciphering the Maya inscriptions was one of the most important archaeological breakthroughs of the 20th century.
Even today, we only understand about 85% of the glyphs, but what we understand already has completely transformed our understanding of the Maya.
What can these hieroglyphs reveal about the mysterious kings of Copan and how they lived and died? René Viel takes a closer look.
We know now that these texts deal with historic events and historic people, because we have the names, for example, of the kings of Copan.
The glyphs tell the story of the lives of Copan's rulers, recording births, deaths, and key events. They are also propaganda, commissioned by kings to glorify themselves for future generations. Could the Japanese team be on the brink of discovering one of these proud kings inside this temple? They believe there is a royal burial chamber somewhere within the structure. But it's huge, and the tomb might be anywhere. This old excavation tunnel could be the perfect place to put the photographic films they are using to scan the temple. They need to make sure the films are in the right place and pointing in the right direction. If they get this wrong, they could miss the tomb completely. The team also need to check their equipment will work here. The last time they used it was in the dry deserts of Egypt. Here at Copan, the tropical jungle conditions create a different challenge. The dust, heat, and humidity make working difficult. But Seiichi is optimistic they will find a royal tomb nearby. Finding the tomb of one of Copan's lost kings could shed new light on the rise and fall of this great kingdom. What can mysterious carvings reveal about the city's ruling dynasty? David Sadat investigates an ornate stone altar found in Copan's main plaza.
It shows the 16 rulers of Copan during its golden age. 4 figures to a side, and it starts here with Green Quetzalcoatl, the founder of the Copan dynasty, until we come to the last ruler of Copan, ruler 16.
Who were these enigmatic kings? David searches the city's Acropolis for clues.
The Acropolis platform in its heyday would have been an impressive elevated citadel where some of the grandest and most spectacular rituals would have unfolded.
He's convinced it could hide the last resting place of one of Copan's 16 rulers. To confirm his suspicions, his team spent 15 years carefully tunneling under the complex.
We were looking for the tombs because we regarded them as time capsules that would contain the proof of the real history of Copan.
After digging 3 kilometers of tunnels, David's team made the discovery of a lifetime. Hidden beneath the Acropolis is a brightly painted temple from the 6th century. Buried beneath it, David finds a warren of tombs. Inside one of them is a skeleton on a stone slab surrounded by precious offerings. Among them, a large jade chest piece, a ring with an intricate carved pattern, a set of earrings, and 4 teeth decorated with jade. This is clearly a rich burial. Who does it belong to? And what can it reveal about how the kings of Copan came to power? Searching for clues to the identity of the tomb's occupant, the team found something spectacular.
Look at that.
A magnificent carving showing 2 birds.
This clue was immediately obvious to us because it was composed on one side of a huge green quetzal bird and on the other side a great red scarlet macaw. So he spelled out the complete name of the Copan founder, First Green Quetzal Macaw.
The beautiful design indicates that this must be the tomb of the first king of Copan. When experts analyzed his skeleton, they discovered something surprising. He was not from this area. David believes the mighty Copan dynasty was founded by an outsider who took over the city in the 5th century AD.
The archaeological investigations have proven to us that the Maya were writing true history about themselves. I think this is probably the crowning achievement of my archaeological career.
But it's not the only stunning discovery inside this magnificent temple. Nearby, David finds another tomb.
To our great astonishment, it was the tomb of a woman with really one of the largest treasure trove of jade jewels and giant pearls and pottery, really one of the richest burials found anywhere in the Maya world.
The woman's extraordinary wealth and burial close to the founder suggest this must be his wife. Analysis of her bones shows she is local, suggesting the first king of Copan may have married his way to the top.
The question was, who was she? Was she just a wife, or was she a queen? This richness of her tomb is testimony that women could become incredibly wealthy and probably supremely powerful in their own right. But to this day, one of the most enduring mysteries and secrets of the Copan Acropolis is that we do not know this woman's name.
The first king and his wife are 2 of only around 8 royal burials found in Copan. At least half the members of this mysterious dynasty are still unaccounted for. At the end of a tunnel, David finds another astonishing ancient structure. It's a 13-meter temple, once painted vivid red. An inscription reveals that it was built in the 6th century, about 200 years before the outer monument. The team nicknames this hidden temple Rosalila.
The real surprise was that Rosalila was buried absolutely intact and purposefully buried by later rulers.
Maya kings often put new temples on top of older ones. Each wanted to build bigger and better monuments than his predecessor. But temples were about more than just showing off.
Temples could face the setting sun. They could also face the rising sun. They can be essentially astronomical clocks because how the sun rose and set over the year was an important consideration for them.
Why is astronomy so important to the Maya? Panos Kratimenos searches the Dresden Codex for clues.
A large theme in the Dresden Codex is charting the course of celestial bodies across the sky. Here we can see a series of numbers with a dot representing 1, a bar representing 5, and this shell-shaped glyph representing 0.
The Codex is like an almanac, counting the number of days until an event like an equinox or a full moon will happen. It shows the Maya were skilled astronomers.
They're able to track various celestial bodies across the sky with extreme precision, as good as, if not slightly better, than what we're capable of doing today, and all without the modern technology that we're used to, like telescopes.
They had to be precise, because getting the date wrong could be fatal.
The calendar was crucially important to the Maya because they had to keep track of the time of year in order to be able to plant and harvest their crops correctly.
Many Maya temples had a dual purpose. Not only were they giant funerary monuments for kings and queens, they helped keep track of time. Could the Japanese team be about to find one of Copan's lost kings inside one such temple? And what can stunning inscriptions reveal about the city's mysterious dynasty? The ancient city of Copan is home to some of the most spectacular carvings and monuments the Maya ever built. And one magnificent temple is unique. It is completely covered with stunning carved hieroglyphs. What is it for? René Viel investigates the astonishing construction known as the hieroglyphic stairway.
The hieroglyphic stairway is one of the most important monuments in all the Maya world because it is the longest inscription known in Maya hieroglyphs.
This sculpted library is 21 meters high and contains 62 steps, carved with more than 2,000 glyphs. It records the history of Copan and its kings.
The first version of the hieroglyphic stairway was built by the 13th king. He could not finish it because he had a tragic end. And it was completed by his grandson, the 15th king.
After Copan's king was killed by a rival, the city fell into decline. Ruler 15 tried to revive the city's fortunes. A huge monument to him stands guard in front of Temple 11. It could provide a clue to who might be buried inside.
The 15th king remodeled all the southern part of the Great Plaza. He represents himself at the bottom of all this construction. And this is the reason why we think that it must be the 15th king who is buried there.
The fate of Copan's 13th king was not uncommon in the Maya world. Rulers walked a dangerous line between power and politics. Dozens of independent city-states were ruled by powerful kings, but were they allies or enemies? The answer may lie in another spectacular Maya site in what is now Guatemala. Its name is Tikal. Tikal flourished for more than 1,000 years, and at its height in the 8th century was home to an estimated 60,000 people. Edwin Roman has been researching the ancient Maya for more than 20 years.
Over 100 years ago, the first explorers came to Tikal. And since then, Tikal has been hosting a lot of archaeological projects. We thought that we knew everything.
They were wrong. Now, New technology is helping experts make a huge leap forward in their understanding of how Maya kingdoms rose and fell. That technology is LiDAR. LiDAR uses aircraft equipped with lasers to scan the jungle and reveal objects hidden beneath the trees. Researchers from the Pacunam LiDAR initiative surveyed over 2,000 square kilometers of Guatemalan rainforest. Their lasers revealed thousands of previously unknown Maya temples and monuments, a discovery that changed everything.
Before we were able to see only most of the big structures, now we can see everything. And what is more surprised about it is the extent of the cities. We didn't have any clue how big they were.
This epic scanning project has revealed a colossal 60,000 previously unknown Maya structures. It shows the Maya population was more than 10 million strong, 10 times bigger than previously thought. Stripping away the trees also exposes roads linking one city to another.
What we are learning about these images is how some cities were allied to another one and how they were interconnected through roads. But what is amazing is that why not all the cities have it?
Some Mayan kings created alliances to help them become more powerful. But the LiDAR reveals that others weren't so amicable.
This is the wall of Tikal, discovering the entire landscape. Right here was all around Tikal.
This huge defensive wall shows that the people of Tikal weren't welcoming their neighbors in. They were trying to keep them out.
Before, in the beginning, we thought that the Mayas were peaceful. Now we can see the amount of energy that they have to put to protect themselves. And where this picture is showing us is that Tikal was in a landscape of fear.
These groundbreaking new images suggest that in the Maya world, warfare was common. Many kingdoms were locked in centuries-long rivalries with their neighbors. But why were the people of Tikal so afraid? Edwin believes the LiDAR could lead him to a clue.
When we received this image, they found there was a structure. Previously, they thought it was just a natural hill. What is unusual about this structure is their shape. It's nothing that we ever see in the Maya world.
Edwin ventures to investigate the strange structure. Early explorers had to hack through the jungle, not knowing what they would find. Now his high-tech map guides him straight to the location.
Now we can actually start to see it right there.
Arriving at the mysterious mound, Edwin confirms what the LiDAR suggested. This is not a Maya building.
When we first saw this pyramid, it was kind of weird, the layout, and that took our attention because the only structure that is similar to that is 1,000 kilometers from here, in a city called Teotihuacan.
Teotihuacan was one of the most powerful city-states in Mesoamerica, home to around 100,000 people. Edwin believes this newly discovered structure is evidence that invaders from Teotihuacan occupied Tikal in the 4th century AD. It suggests that in Maya society, competition and power struggles were widespread.
War was really important for the Maya. Always they were in some kind of battle between neighbors. Like any culture around the world, they want to try to get access to resources that came from a different kingdom.
In Maya warfare, the king himself would lead raiding parties into small-scale skirmishes. The main goal was not to kill, but to take prisoners to be sacrificed to the gods, and the biggest prize was the king. Legend has it that when the infamous Snake Kings conquered Tikal in 562, they sacrificed the city's king on his own altar. The Snake Kings were masters of Maya warfare. Later, they also defeated Palenque, forcing the queen to surrender the city. After centuries of domination, in the 9th century AD, the Maya mysteriously abandoned their cities. Did warfare tear them apart, or is there another reason? It's the greatest enigma in Maya studies. Now, in Mexico, another team attempts to finally solve it.
この湖なんですけれども、見ていただく通り非常に小さくて、でしかし深いんです。一番深いところで最大水深が28メートルぐらいあります。
Takeshi Nakagawa believes clues to what happened to the Maya could be hidden at the bottom of this lake. He sets up for a pioneering geological investigation.
で湖底に酸素のない水があって、で生物が生息してないもんですから、溜まった泥ですね、堆積物が乱されることなくそのままきれいに溜まっていきます。
Lake bed sediment contains traces of the environment from centuries gone by. From pollution to weather conditions to plant and animal remains. This lake is right next to an abandoned Maya site.
マヤ文明になった人たちがここに住み始めてから、そしていなくなるまでの間をきちんとカバーした堆積物が取れる可能性がとても高いんじゃないかと思っています。
The team builds a floating platform to collect samples from the deepest part of the lake. They hope to find evidence of the Maya collapse, preserved in the sediment. But what can other precious clues found deep underground reveal about the rise and fall of this great civilization? Ancient Maya kings were buried in lavish tombs surrounded by treasures. And one grave offering was essential: jade. Why did the Maya favor jade above all else? Mary Lou Ridinger is an expert in Maya trade.
Jade was the most valuable thing that the Maya had in their entire cultural inventory.
Jade is exceptionally rare and harder than steel. In a world without metal tools, this made it unique and valuable.
They felt that the jade was indestructible. It has a shelf life of 400 million years. It's going to last forever, so it represented immortality.
Jade boulders blend seamlessly into their surroundings. To find out if a stone really is jade, Mary Lou tests it in a lab. The test uses a mixture of two extremely dense liquids, bromoform and methylene iodide. Almost any other stone will float in the mixture. But because of its extreme density, jade will sink.
Well, this is a piece of stone that I suspect is not jade.
The stone floats. It's not heavy enough to be jade. She tests another piece.
Sank. That proves that it's jade. So let's take this and make something beautiful out of it.
Today, technicians use diamond-tipped saws to cut jade, but the Maya only had stone tools. How could they cut something as tough as jade?
The only stone in Guatemala that was harder than jade was garnet. So they were using abrasive garnet on the edge of their wooden tools in order to carve jade.
Maya craftsmen would take weeks or even months to cut one stone. But jade was not only beautiful, it meant power.
Controlling the jade trade was the most important thing for these cultures. They formed political alliances with the people who were closest to the source of the jade in order to attain power. The world is all about who controls the resources. It goes on every day in the world today.
Jade was a vital part of Maya culture. It was buried in tombs alongside kings and queens, many of which have now been lost to history. Could Seiichi Nakamura and his team be close to making a new discovery inside this temple?
この神殿の中に15代目の王の墓、王墓がある可能性はものすごく高いというふうに私だけではなくコパンの考古学を行っている人間は皆考えているわけです。
The team has installed photographic plates inside the tunnels. It will take several months to complete the scanning process. While they wait, Seiichi decides to excavate a collapsed temple. It's close to Copan's magnificent hieroglyphic stairway. He thinks it could conceal the tomb of another of the city's missing kings.
神聖文字のですね、階段と対峙しているということから、我々はこの神殿の中に神聖文字の階段を完成させた15代目の王の父親であるですね、14代目の王の墓があってもおかしくないというふうに思っています。
This ruined monument is known as Temple 7. If there is a tomb inside, it could hold vital clues to the downfall of Copan's royal dynasty. Seiichi believes it begins with the tragic death of the 13th king in the 8th century AD.
これはマヤ文明史の中でも非常に有名な一大事件でありまして、この後即位したのがこの14代目の王なんです。
After the 13th king was captured and killed by a rival, Copan fell into decline. Could finding his son's tomb inside this temple reveal what went wrong?
コパンのですね、その衰退のプロセスがはっきりすれば、これは他のマヤ都市の衰退のプロセスとほぼ同じプロセスをたどっているんじゃないかというふうに我々は考えていますので、そういった意味で非常に重要な知見が得られると思います。
Objects inside the tomb could provide evidence of the city's wealth and political connections at the time. All vital clues to what caused its downfall. Soon, the team finds something gruesome. Human bones.
形を保ってですね、そのまま埋葬されているのではなく、バラバラにですね、手足の骨がここに散乱している感じになっているんですが。
Nearby are incense burners and pieces of jade more than 1,000 years old. It's evidence that Maya priests performed a ritual here.
この儀礼の過程でここに、香炉も埋葬され、それからバラバラになった人骨もここに何らかの奉納され、翡翠もですね、壊されてここに捨てられている。
Seiichi believes this ritual could have been to celebrate the completion of the building. Could it be linked to the construction of a royal tomb? And what can more human remains found in another part of the city reveal about these chilling Maya practices? The Maya were a deeply sophisticated civilization. With stone tools, they built spectacular cities, controlled powerful kingdoms far bigger than ever imagined. They crafted stunning treasures to bury with their fallen kings and queens, hidden for millennia in astonishing tombs. As the team continue their investigations under the temples at Copan, they hope to unlock the secrets of how this great civilization rose up and what ultimately brought it to its knees. Next time, What can mysterious human remains reveal about the dark side of Maya religion?
Those heads had been severed.
How did they use advanced engineering to survive against the odds? And what caused their ultimate collapse?
They may have think it could have been the end of the world.
The dazzling cities of the ancient Maya, built by one of the most sophisticated civilizations in history.
The Maya people were as advanced as any of the ancient civilizations of the world.
For 3,000 years, the ancient Maya dominated Central America. They founded powerful kingdoms and built towering temples, ruled over by formidable kings and queens.
Maya rulers lived lives of incredible privilege, but there was a price to be paid.
But their lives remain shrouded in mystery. Who were they, and how did they live and die? With exclusive access, our experts embark on a groundbreaking 2-year investigation, using space technology to hunt for a long-dead king inside this intriguing temple.
いいんじゃないですか感じとしては
Coming face to face with the ancient Maya themselves.
This is the science of archaeology that is so exciting.
And braving an erupting volcano to find out why this great civilization collapsed.
They may have think it could have been the end of the world.
To solve these mysteries, we bring this remarkable world back to life in vivid 3D. And explore the lavish tombs of kings to shed new light on the life and death of the ancient Maya. The spectacular city of Copan is rich with mysterious temples and hidden tombs. David Sadat wants to find out about death in the Maya world. Can grisly evidence hidden in the heart of the city provide a clue? Hidden under Copan's hieroglyphic stairway, archaeologists discovered a limestone slab engraved with the first kings of Copan. Beneath it was a small circular crypt, crammed full of offerings. There were traces of mercury, 3 human skulls, and the bones of a whole puma, but also the remains of a human body, buried in a seated position, some bones blackened and burned. Could this be the last resting place of a lost king of Copan? David believes this tomb could hold clues to the mysterious burial practices of the Maya. To investigate, he's been given special access to Copan's research center. The burial's prime location and a royal carving suggests this could be the body of a king. But there's a problem.
When measured, the hips of this skeleton indicate that we have a woman.
These are not the remains of a king. Who could this remarkable woman be?
This is actually a rather graceful young woman in her mid-20s.
Closer inspection of the bones reveals something astonishing. A fracture of the right forearm, an injury associated with battle.
This woman has injuries that suggest that she may have been a warrior.
Experts now believe that some Maya warriors were women. Buried with her were the skulls of 3 men, the remains of turtles, deer, and a puma, and a treasure trove of jade jewelry. The grave goods make clear this is no ordinary burial.
Really, really interesting were the human skulls on top still had the neck vertebrae attached to them and obvious signs of cut marks on those neck bones indicating that those heads had been severed. The clear evidence of sacrifice by beheading.
David suspects this remarkable tomb could be a group sacrifice. The Maya often sacrificed warriors captured in battle from enemy kingdoms. Isotope analysis of the skeleton reveals that the woman is not local. She's from a region far north of Copan.
There's a strong likelihood that this woman herself was a sacrificial victim.
But what was the significance of sacrifice to the Maya?
The sacrifice was not just a gratuitous event, but it was a deeply important rite. It was connected with the resurrection, the rebirth, the renewal of life itself.
This extraordinary discovery sheds new light on the mysterious burial practices of the ancient Maya. Could archaeologists be on the brink of another groundbreaking find? At Copan, a team of scientists investigates one of the main temples. They are using cutting-edge technology called muon imaging to scan the temple and search for a royal tomb. As cosmic rays hit our atmosphere, they shower the Earth in subatomic particles called muons. By carefully placing muon detection plates, the team can scan the structure for hidden cavities like a giant X-ray. It takes months to gather enough data. In the meantime, team leader Seiichi Nakamura looks for clues in a nearby temple.
また現在ですね、ここを発掘しておりますのは、この古い時代の建物のこの正面階段の下にですね、古代前の人たちはしばしばですね、重要な奉納品を埋葬したり、あるいは何らかの生贄を埋葬したりということがありますので、そのために今この地点を掘り下げていっているところです。
Seiichi believes there could be another royal tomb hidden in this temple. A macabre discovery supports his theory.
王家に関連したこの建物のこの王の強さを示すもの、そして2つ目はやはりですね、この骸骨そのものが持っている意味、すなわち死およびそこに埋葬されているということと、関係があるというふうに考えられています。
Nearby, one of the team has discovered something curious, a section of wall that looks different from the rest.
ここにですね、ちょうど壁の石が揃っている箇所があります。で、こちらもこう切ったような跡がありまして、で我々はこれをですね、古代前の人たちが中に何かを埋めて、そして蓋をした跡という痕跡だというふうに解釈をしています。
Seiichi believes this strange section of wall is an entrance that has been bricked up.
これは私の想像なんですが、七号神殿の地下にですね、非常に重要な墓があるとすると、
そこにつながるような地下トンネルの入り口みたいな可能性もないとは言えません。
It will take many more months of painstaking digging to clear the entrance to see what is beyond.
いいんじゃないですか感じとしては。
After death, ritual burials appeased the gods and ensured safe passage to the next world. But how did the Maya appeal to their deities during life? A clue could lie in a stunning limestone carving. Panos Kratimenos investigates. The carving shows a king holding a torch. Kneeling next to him is his queen.
We can see the queen running a rope with thorns on it through her tongue to let blood.
In the Maya world, bloodletting was a common practice. High-status Maya would lacerate their own ears, tongue, or other sensitive areas using stingray spines and obsidian glass. But it was done for a purpose.
Maya elites lived lives of great privilege, but there was a price to be paid for that in their own blood.
Maya rulers claimed legitimacy through their special access to the supernatural world. It was their job to speak to the gods and to seek their favor.
The most effective way of asking for favors from the supernatural world was to offer up your own blood.
Bloodletting was a sacrifice you could repeat, but it was not for the faint-hearted.
This would have hurt. When it's hot and humid, you don't heal for ages. So, as well as being painful, it would have been potentially quite dangerous.
Who were these bloodthirsty deities? And what was their role in the lives of the Maya? Magnificent Maya cities were rich with mighty temples and beautiful carvings dedicated to mysterious deities. In Copan, David Sadat wants to find out more. There are clues dotted all over the city. Carvings of an impressive bird, the scarlet macaw.
The macaw is certainly a very proud, loud creature. He outshouts anybody around.
Why did the Maya carve macaws all over their city?
There are many sculptures in Copan that show that the divine king and the nobles wore headdresses of long feathers. It would have been a glorious spectacle.
But to the Maya, the macaw was more than flamboyant headwear. It played an important role in their creation story. When the gods first created the world, there were no humans and no light. Just a vain bird called Seven Macaw, pretending to be the sun. The gods tried to create humans from mud and wood, but they had no soul and could not worship, so the gods destroyed them. Then, one day, two young gods called the Hero Twins challenged Seven Macaw and shot the imposter from his tree. Eventually, the twins became the real moon and sun. Now, when the gods tried to create humans from maize, they finally succeeded. The Maya had over 160 deities. They were complex beings with tangled roles and intricate functions.
The Maya believed in a fractal universe, something that was constantly changing, forming new patterns.
If the gods were angered, they could smite the population with crop failure or drought. Keeping them happy was essential. What can hidden evidence reveal about the ingenious ways the Maya survived against the odds? The magnificent city of Tikal thrived for over 1,000 years and was once home to an estimated 60,000 people. But how did the city survive when conditions became hostile? Livy Gracioso has been studying the Maya for over 30 years. She believes their survival rested on a very simple substance: water.
We have a rainy season and a dry season, and the dry season can last for over 4 months. And they have to assure to have enough water for everybody during the dry season.
Lakes don't form naturally here because the limestone bedrock is porous. When it rains, the water is quickly absorbed into the ground. How did the kings of Tikal provide water for the tens of thousands of people who lived here? Today, the evidence is consumed by dense jungle. But, hidden within the trees, Livy finds something extraordinary. A large depression in the ground.
We are actually in the palace reservoir. We have the big chain of reservoirs in Tikal Plaza.
These reservoirs are part of a monumental water management system. The Maya built canals to collect rainwater running off Tikal's buildings and roads. They carved out a deep basin, lined it with clay, and built a 10-meter stone dam that doubled up as a causeway. In the rainy season, this created a huge reservoir over 180 meters across. When it was full, it overflowed into an even bigger pool lower down. These gigantic artificial lakes made up a network of more than 20 reservoirs, storing millions of liters of water right in the heart of Tikal. But with so many people living here, keeping the water clean was a monumental challenge.
In our studies, we found cyanobacteria and contamination with mercury, and that's really toxic for people. The Mayas needed to create a solution to filter water, to make it safe to drink for everybody.
They came up with an ingenious answer. In a mine 30 kilometers from Tikal, the Maya dug out volcanic rocks and sand and carried it back to the city. The sand contained the mineral zeolite, which works like a molecular sieve to filter out toxins and pathogens, technology used to this day. It's thought that the Maya used this sand to build large-scale filters onto the end of their water collection channels. It was the first water purification system of its kind in the world, and the people of Tikal relied on it for 1,000 years.
For kings and rulers, it must have been very important to have the ability to control water, because that will give them prestige, and also that shows power.
Pioneering engineering delivered safe drinking water to the people of Tikal, but survival was precarious, and in the 10th century, Maya cities were mysteriously abandoned. What caused this devastating collapse of civilization? In Mexico, paleoclimatologists Ikuko Kitaba and Takeshi Nakagawa search for clues to what caused the Maya to abandon their cities. Takeshi has an idea.
過去の気候変動がマヤ文明の盛衰に影響しているんじゃないかということはもう仮説としてはずっと言われてきていまして、ただそれを検証することがなかなか難しいわけです。
Could climate change have triggered the collapse of Maya civilization? To find out, the team has built a floating platform. They attach a drill which they will use to collect sediment samples from the lake bed.
で堆積物の深さがですね、今回狙ってるので一番深くて10メーターぐらいまで到達しようとしてるんですよ。なので、機材の重さだけでも相当なものになります。それから堆積物の中に刺さったそのサンプラーっていうんですけれども、それを取ってくるための道具を引っ張り上げるのもかなりの力が必要なもんで。
It's a delicate process. The team needs to drill to exactly the right depth and then extract each sample without disturbing the sediments. Each core is 60 centimeters long and is made up of layers of sediment called varves. Like the rings of a tree, each varve represents 1 year in the lifetime of the lake.
でこの地域、特に乾季と雨季が明瞭ですので、乾季の堆積物と雨季の堆積物が目で見てわかるぐらいはっきり色の違う縞模様を作っていきます。なので、その1年に1組の明るい色と暗い色の縞模様ができていって。
If a major climatic event caused the Maya collapse, evidence will be locked in these layers. Ikuko carefully records each sample.
こっちが上でこっちが下です。多分次のとかの方が綺麗に全部土入って見栄えがすると思います。
The team must take the samples to Japan for analysis. They hope to find clues to what caused Maya civilization to fall after centuries of success. But what can grim evidence found deep underground reveal about the people who helped it to rise? Maya rulers built stunning monuments to glorify themselves and their gods. At Palenque, kings created some of the most beautiful architecture in the Maya world. Rodrigo Liendo investigates how the city's elite lived.
The palace at Palenque is the most important building in the city because this was the actual building where the important administrative and political decisions were made.
The palace is a masterpiece of Maya engineering, with an observation tower, courtyards, and even indoor toilets. Near the entrance is an intriguing carving. Rodrigo believes it provides a clue to how Maya kings like Pakal ruled.
In this court, it's presented a series of captives very close to be sacrificed.
The carvings depict a key moment in Palenque's history, when Pakal's army won a victory over a rival kingdom and captured its ruler.
Pakal was really trying to send a message and show everybody coming into the palace one of his finest moments in his reign. So visitors or high dignitaries would look at this scene with a little bit of fright.
Together with an elite council, Maya kings ruled the cities through a mix of fear and awe. They enjoyed a life of comfort and luxury. Can human remains discovered in the city reveal what the Maya ruling classes looked like? Luis Núñez has been studying the bones of the ancient Maya for 20 years. He examines a skull found in a temple. It belongs to a man around 40 years old.
He is part of a group of around 15 burials, all in their individual caskets. He is a high-status individual, a very, very elite of the society.
When Luis takes a closer look at the skull, he spots something strange. It's an unusual shape.
What we have here is a very beautiful example of the artificial cranial modification. And most of the population have this type of bone modification.
Cranial modification was a way of distorting the soft skulls of babies by binding them with hard boards. As they got older, the bones fused into this elongated shape. Luis believes this practice had both a practical and a spiritual purpose.
Some people believe that has to do with the status of the individual, maybe like a sign of beauty. To be honest, it's a little bit of a mystery.
Skull shaping was not the only way the Maya showed off their status. Luis examines the man's teeth.
One very interesting detail is the dental modifications. In this case, we see 4 of the upper teeth with inlays, one black and the other one green.
The Maya drilled small holes in their teeth and decorated them with precious stones, like jade or obsidian. The discovery of elite Maya burials reveals the extraordinary riches Maya elite used to display their status. What other Maya treasures could still lie hidden, waiting to be discovered? In Copan, the Japanese team continue their search for a royal tomb inside Temple 11. To find it, it's vital their detectors point in exactly the right direction. After months of waiting, early analysis reveals they have missed their target. To decide where to scan next, Seiichi investigates an area near the top of the temple. He finds a tantalizing opening.
ちょっと非常に危険なので、研究所もその人が立ったりすることによって崩落する可能性があるから、なるべく入らないでほしいと言われてます。
Stone steps lead down into the darkness, but it's too unstable for the team to enter. They use a camera to look inside. It reveals a shaft, 5 meters deep, with a small chamber at the bottom.
大体このマヤの都市の王墓の作り方は、その王が実際に安置される石室のほかに、その上、あるいは斜め上にですね、いろんな奉納品を捧げるところが必ずありますので、私はそれじゃないかと思います。
This intriguing cavity provides a clue to the exact position of the tomb.
ですからこの石室の隣ないしは斜め下ぐらいに、私は王墓があるというふうに考えています。
Now they know more precisely where to look, the team can try scanning again. They set up their photographic plates at a new angle, facing where they think the tomb could be.
方向的には向こうの方向なので、向こうに向けてるフィルムが今ここと奥に1個ずつあるんですけど。
Astrophysicist Kunihiro Morishima is confident they've got it right this time.
大きさ次第ではあるんですけど、2メートルぐらいの大きさがあれば見えるはずだと思います。
The scanners detect cosmic particles called muons that penetrate the temple like a giant X-ray. Discovering a tomb could finally help explain what happened to the ancient Maya. The beautiful Maya city of Copan now lies ruined. René Viel investigates how this once powerful kingdom met its end. A clue could lie on an unusual square altar.
These altars represent the 17th king, and there is a date which is February 822.
This altar was built to celebrate the succession of a 17th ruler of Copan. But something is wrong.
On the other side, they started to carve, but it is not finished. So it looks like something sudden happened. This is the very last thing that has been carved in Copan. It's the end of Copan.
Why is the altar unfinished? René believes this is evidence that before the new king of Copan could finish his project, Maya civilization collapsed.
The collapse of Copan must be seen in the context of the general collapse of the Maya civilization between 800 and 900.
What are the reasons for that collapse is not yet very clear.
Over the next 100 years, Maya society disintegrated. Wars broke out, many died, and cities like Copan were abandoned.
The city, from a peak of, say, 25,000 people, in a few decades, just went down to, say, 5,000 people.
Other powerful cities like Palenque and Tikal also fell silent. What happened to cause this catastrophic breakdown of Maya civilization? In Japan, the team begin their analysis of the sediment samples taken from the lake. Each 60-centimeter sample contains hundreds of valves, or layers.
かなり長い期間の記録が取り出せるっていうのがあるんじゃないかなと思っています。
They have 6.5 meters of core, taking them back thousands of years, well before the Maya collapse. If the layers have been disturbed, the information is lost. Ikuko checks for damage.
かなりいい年縞が取れたと思っています。でさらにもう一つ言うと、ここ見ていただくと白い年縞、黒い年縞、2つのタイプの年縞があるんですけれど、こういうのがまた雨の変化ですとか環境の変化を非常によく記録しているんじゃないかと思います。
It's a success. The layers are undisturbed, and the team can start their analysis. If a flood, drought, or human activity contributed to the Maya collapse, they hope to find evidence of it in here. And it's not long before Takeshi makes a discovery.
やったな。どうです。最高じゃん。これが葉っぱですね。これが真ん中の葉脈で。
The ancient leaf has been preserved for over 1,000 years. It acts like a timestamp, allowing the team to precisely date the layer. Could it hold clues to what really happened to the Maya? In Guatemala, Livy Gracioso investigates what else may have caused the Maya to abandon their cities. She travels to one of the country's many active volcanoes. This one is called Pacaya. It could provide a clue to the mystery of the Maya collapse.
Pacaya is often erupting. Sometimes it's only columns of smoke, but it's very often that they have lava flows going down. With all the ashes that were expelled to the atmosphere, they travel thousands of kilometers, and all these ashes that fall into the ground, they are very helpful to create fertile soils.
Volcanic ash is an excellent fertilizer. It contains magnesium and phosphates, minerals still used in fertilizers today. When experts analyzed the soil at Tikal, they found traces of volcanic ash from these volcanoes, blown on the wind. But what happened when the winds changed?
Sometimes when the prevailing winds go in another direction, the ashes won't be delivered to the area they were supposed to go.
Without this fertilizer, Maya farmers may have struggled to produce enough food for Tikal's enormous population. But Livy believes there could be an even more dramatic reason for the abandonment of the cities.
In the soil samples we took, we find out that at least they were like 3 major volcanic eruptions that were really strong, mostly at the time the cities were abandoned.
A huge volcanic eruption may have devastated the Maya.
Ashes fell into the reservoirs water was scarce, and it really had catastrophic consequences for the Maya society. They may have think it could have been the end of the world.
By the middle of the 10th century AD, these once mighty cities were empty. What happened to the people who left? Clues may lie in the spectacular city of Chichen Itza in modern-day Mexico. At the heart of the city is a towering pyramid, 30 meters tall and 55 meters wide, with 9 tiers.
In Chichen Itza, the castle is one of the most famous structures because of its beauty and also its magnificent architecture.
Livy believes this monumental outer pyramid provides a clue to what happened to the Maya people. When archaeologists excavated inside the castle, they found a smaller pyramid beneath it, and another one beneath that, like Russian dolls. The innermost pyramid was built around 500 AD, and the second one 200 years later. But the imposing outer pyramid dates to the 10th century, over 100 years after the Maya collapse. If the Maya had already abandoned their cities, who built it?
Although many large cities were abandoned, there were other cities that they were occupied at that time, but they flourished and become stronger and larger. And a good example is Chichen Itza.
This magnificent pyramid was also built by the Maya. It's proof that after great cities like Copan and Tikal fell into ruin, others rose up.
Chichen, the area was populated way before that, but after the big cities were abandoned, it started becoming like a great city, let's say after 1000 AD on.
Chichen Itza grew to become a major Maya capital while other cities fell into ruin. But how did shockwaves from the collapse affect the way the Maya lived? For a long time, the Maya rarely sacrificed humans, only on special occasions, like the death of a king. But after the 10th century, those killings became more frequent. If a team lost in a Maya ball game, the players could be beheaded. Their skulls were placed on racks, along with scores of heads from sacrificed prisoners of war. And at a nearby sinkhole, more than 200 men, women, and children were thrown in, dead or alive. What fueled the Maya's sudden drive to placate their gods?
There's evidence that there was an increase in sacrifices. And not only the quantity, but also the diversity of sacrifices.
Livy believes that after the turbulence of the collapse, the Maya started turning more to religion.
Because of the crisis, you know, people will take refuge in religion and they start making it more intense, like performing more sacrifices or doing rituals to please the gods in order to keep the balance and stability in their society.
Evidence from Chichen Itza has revealed that after the Maya collapse, they built a new society. But it was very different. There was more instability, more warfare, and more political turbulence. Every day, scientists edge closer to understanding what caused this radical change. Back in Japan, the scanning team study the results of their groundbreaking attempt to find a burial chamber inside Copan's Temple 11. They've created a 3D model. They compare it with the scans to look for any anomalies that could indicate a tomb.
そのデータとシミュレーションを比較するという解析をすることによって そのピラミッドの複雑な形状に隠れているような構造がもしあればそれが見えてくるというふうに考えています。
But the internal tunnels and collapsed areas make the temple difficult to analyze.
そこにある程度の大きさを持った空間が存在していて、それがいろんな背景と重なってうまく見えていない可能性はあると思います。
For now at least, they cannot see a tomb. But armed with this new information, they plan to return to Copan and try again.
現代の科学の、最先端なものを使ってやってるわけですから、この形の、研究というのはもちろんそのマヤおよび中南米では全くやられていないので、これは一つのブレイクスルーになる可能性は非常に大きいと思います。
Experts have taken another step forward in their search for Copan's lost kings. But for now, Temple 11 holds on to its secrets. Will the other team have more success and solve the mystery of the Maya collapse? At its peak, the Maya civilization covered more than 250,000 square kilometers and numbered around 11 million people. Why did their dominance come to an end? In Japan, Ikuko Kitaba and her team are searching for evidence of the Maya collapse in the sediment cores they sampled from the lake bed. First, they examine the levels of nitrogen. The results are shocking.
ここまで綺麗なこの立ち上がりをグリーンこう下がる。これはもうちょっと未だかつて僕の経験にはない。
The levels of nitrogen are extremely high, but drop sharply around the late 9th century. What caused this abrupt change?
要するに糞尿ですよ。糞尿が多いと窒素がバンと上がるんです。
It's a clear sign of human activity. The sharp decline in nitrogen levels is proof that the population plummeted at the time of the collapse. But to the team's surprise, evidence of a major climatic event remains elusive.
今回ですね、気候変動が見えるかなっていうふうに期待してたんですけれども、かなり人間活動が色濃く見えたので、その気候変動の部分がどこまで見えているのかっていうのがちょっとわからなくなってきました。
What happened to decimate the Maya population? Ikuko has an alternative theory.
そこでですね、もしかすると人間がその周りの土地を開拓したことによってもうその周りの土地に対してこう不可逆的ななんていうか影響を与えたのかもしれないっていうそういう可能性は否定できません。
Ikuko believes that overfarming may have played a role in the collapse of Maya civilization. Their findings are not what they expected. There's no sign of a natural disaster. It opens the door to a whole new area of research.
中緯度帯にそういう適したサンプルが堆積物や年輪と含めてね、これまでなかったので、本当に未開の地を行くっていう形でまだどう転ぶか分かりませんけど、その波及効果っていうのはちょっと想像できないような規模になるかなというふうには思ってますね。
Scientists are one step closer to solving this ancient mystery. But even the powerful Maya cities that came after the collapse couldn't last forever. How did the glorious Maya civilization finally come to an end? Luis Jose Hernandez has been studying Maya history for over 20 years. He hunts for clues on the island of Flores in Guatemala.
There were 21 small Maya pyramids here. Now we can see a church, but the church was built on top of a Mayan temple.
4 centuries ago, This was a bustling Maya city. Who built this church here? The Spanish first arrived in Mexico in 1519 and quickly conquered the Aztecs. But the Maya put up fierce resistance. It took the Spanish 170 years to defeat all their separate kingdoms. In February 1697, the invaders attacked the last Maya bastion, the island of Flores. Many Maya defenders perished in a hail of Spanish gunfire, and the rest were forced to abandon the city.
How many people died? We really don't know. According to the historical records, the lake's color changed to red, the color of blood.
From the Maya ruins arose the modern city of Flores. It's the second oldest continuously inhabited settlement in the Americas. After the conquest, European diseases devastated the Maya people. But there are still 6 million Maya descendants living in the region today.
The Spanish destroyed everything, but they didn't destroy costume, tradition, and even the language.
The vast kingdoms of the ancient Maya, a civilization once lost to the jungle. Now, archaeology is revolutionizing our understanding of how these remarkable people lived and died. With clues hidden for millennia inside spectacular temples, ancient texts and carvings, the priceless treasures of royal burials, and even locked in the sediment of lake beds. With stone tools, the Maya built stunning monuments and elaborate tombs for their powerful kings and queens. They used advanced engineering to survive harsh conditions. And when some cities collapsed, others rose up more spectacular than ever. Many mysteries about the life and death of this great civilization still remain. But with the help of groundbreaking technology, experts are gradually unlocking the secrets of the ancient Maya.
One of ancient Egypt's most coveted treasures is the tomb of the mysterious Imhotep, the most renowned vizier of this vanished civilization. Imhotep was famous for his great knowledge and his wisdom. But above all, he's the man who built humanity's very first step pyramid, Pharaoh Djoser's step pyramid.
Imhotep is one of the first recognized geniuses in human history.
Having access to Imhotep's tomb will shed light on the construction techniques of that first pyramid, and therefore of all the others that followed, the mythical pyramid of Khufu, as well as those of Khafre and Menkaure. In the heart of the Egyptian desert, at the famous Saqqara necropolis complex, Egyptologists are launching an unprecedented expedition to find clues that should guide us towards the tomb of that famous vizier and architect.
It's my dream to discover the tomb of Imhotep.
Under the direction of Egyptologist Zahi Hawass, dozens of archaeologists will be digging and excavating for over 120 days to reveal the wonders that Saqqara holds in its blanket of sand.
Give me a brush, please. Statue. Wonderful.
I like this one. Yalla, take it up. Oh, good afternoon, Mrs. X.
From the first days of excavation, extraordinary remains were unearthed. They even made the headlines all over the world. Is that a sign that there are more prestigious tombs concealed nearby? Could Zahi Hawass be getting closer to Imhotep?
Oh, I see. Treasures. This pieces is for a museum.
We have been given the exclusive opportunity to embark on this exceptional excavation campaign, which has been digging into the necropolis complex ground for years.
Yalla, Victor, let's start the X-ray.
Assisted by the best Egyptologists and with the aid of state-of-the-art technologies, we will listen to what these remains have to say, that have been buried for thousands of years and have just been brought to light.
This is actually the first time that I see a mummy in this position.
We're taking you along this unique adventure into the heart of the tombs to discover ancient coffins and mummies that every year take archaeologists a step closer to Vizier Imhotep's grave. February 2023. For several years now, Zahi Hawass and his team have been excavating the Saqqara Plateau in Egypt, a necropolis complex of thousands of years situated south of Cairo, some 30 kilometers from the world-famous pyramids of the Giza Plateau. This is where the famous Step Pyramid of Djoser is situated. There's no overstating the immensity of this task, as the desert holds hidden treasures over several square kilometers. This morning, Zahi Hawass has been called by his excavation teams. After working for weeks, the team members have finally managed to clear out this 15-meter deep shaft. The archaeologist has been conducting research in his country, discovering treasures for 5 decades. And yet, the same uncertainty steals over him every time he's about to explore a new tomb. This time, he has to go down into the shaft by means of a rudimentary system made up of ropes and a basket. When he reaches the bottom of the shaft, he makes an extraordinary discovery.
This is so exciting. The most beautiful moment in my life is the moment when I'm holding this flashlight and look inside.
After thousands of years lying buried in the sand, a magnificent coffin looms out of darkness.
This is incredible. The color, the faces. But what's unique about them, there is no one single coffin is similar to the other one.
The designs that were delicately painted on the wood depicts the face of the deceased. It's like a photo of that period.
The person, before he died, he go to the workshop at that time. And he will ask the owner of the workshop, I need you to make a coffin for me. Then they will look at his face, and they sign his face in this area here.
Zahi Hawass now tries to venture an initial guess of the date of the coffin.
If I look at the style of this mummy, this is the late period mummy, 500 BC, because of the hieroglyphic, because of the scene, and the face is typical late period mummy.
In order for him to find out more about it, the coffin will have to be opened. If the mummy is still inside, it will be an extraordinary find, because it will allow us to advance our knowledge about the still mysterious world of ancient Egypt. Zahi Hawass is about to make a major discovery. 2 years ago, the whole world marveled at the extraordinary discoveries made by Zahi Hawass's team. We were there when these wonderfully decorated, sumptuous coffins were opened.
Phew, it looks like the mummy in the movies.
Treasures like this one abound beneath the Saqqara ground.
Saqqara is the most famous archaeological site in Egypt and actually in the world.
This necropolis complex of about 10 square kilometers was in use for thousands of years, and it's home to thousands of tombs, not only nobles, but also of ordinary people.
Saqqara is situated on the west bank of the Nile, at the gates of the desert. It's an arid and hostile region which conjured up death in the imagination of ancient Egyptians.
The Saqqara necropolis complex practically became a mythical place because people were buried there from the Old Kingdom to the end of the Roman period.
This burial ground has been excavated by archaeologists for over 200 years. It contains numerous architectural treasures that teach us about the Egyptian civilization of the time.
Saqqara wasn't only a necropolis. It was also a complex of sanctuaries where people would pray to the gods for something, mostly the cure for an ailment. It was almost a bridge between the worlds of the dead and of the living.
Here, at this sacred place loaded with history, Zahi Hawass has made his most beautiful archaeological finds. He has a feeling that another fabulous discovery awaits him in the coffin he has just uncovered. The restorers get down to the task of opening it.
يلا بقى. Careful. ها? Open البتاع ده اللي هو
It's an extremely delicate operation because there's very little room down here and the wood is very fragile. Even the slightest impact could turn the coffin into dust.
We have to open it carefully like this. He will take the lid up little by little. Then carefully, when they take the lid up, no harm on the mummy inside. We hope that the mummy in a good condition. Yalla, take it up. Ah, God.
It's a sensational discovery. The mummy is totally disintegrated. The linen bandages come apart in rags, perhaps because the mummification technique applied was not good, or because it was too hastily embalmed. But at closer inspection, Zahi Hawass makes out magnificent ornaments.
Wonderful. Look at this white beads here. This could be remains of a dress that covered the chest and the whole mummy. Oh, I see. Treasures.
Hawass's expert eye soon spots other jewelry pieces that are even more precious.
One beautiful amulet. It's gilded. We have the gold color, and I think this is gold.
This superb golden turquoise pendant was probably part of a necklace worn by the deceased. For ancient Egyptians, this precious metal represented the flesh of the gods. It symbolized eternal life.
We found hundreds of artifacts, but never discovered something unique like this. Let me see what else.
Another piece.
See another piece?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is this for the legs? You know this thing that they put it here, the ankle?
This is indeed an exceptional discovery. Finding gold in a tomb is an amazing stroke of luck because gold was a rare and precious metal, and it was exclusively reserved for the pharaohs and the elite.
The wealthiest people naturally took into their tombs a number of gold objects as a show of their wealth and their refinement from a social point of view.
Can I see?
Yeah.
Ah, you know this thing that they put it here, the ankle?
Gold is a metal that's easy to work, which allowed for the manufacture of bracelets, necklaces, earrings, all kinds of extremely delicate luxury artifacts.
Extrêmement délicat.
But who was this person who could afford to have in their coffin all these gold treasures? They must have been very wealthy, of a particularly high social status. However, there aren't any inscriptions providing clues to this person's identity. And there's yet another mystery. If this person was buried with so many precious objects, they certainly had the means to pay for a good quality embalming. So why was the mummification so poorly performed?
You know, even the mummy was in a very bad condition, but the mummy rewarded us with beautiful, incredible amulets inside. This is fantastic. This pieces is for a museum.
The amazing finds that this tomb has yielded will be photographed, restored, and eventually displayed in a glass case for the whole world to see. The mummy itself is too fragile to be moved, so it will stay here. The archaeologists will let it enjoy its eternal sleep. The discovery of that mummy with its gold jewelry was certainly historic. But Zayawas wants to go further still, as the archaeologist is above all searching for a much older remains dating back to the Old Kingdom, the beginning of the Egyptian civilization. At his very last excavation campaign before retiring, he's hoping to make the discovery of the century.
It's my dream before I leave this world is to discover the tomb of Imhotep.
Imhotep, a man unlike any other. This sage and most respected vizier is especially known as the genial architect of humanity's first pyramid, Pharaoh Djoser's Step Pyramid, built at Saqqara around the year 2600 BC. That is why finding Imhotep's resting place is the holy grail for all archaeologists.
Imhotep is one of the first recognized geniuses in human history.
He's a Renaissance man of antiquity. He was a Leonardo da Vinci of that time.
Just like that eminent Renaissance inventor, Imhotep dreamed up new concepts. Until he came around, kings were buried in mastabas, these rectangular stone funerary monuments which crowned the vaults. But Imhotep decided to construct an edifice that would rise up to the sky in order to facilitate the journey to the afterlife.
Imhotep came up with the idea of stacking 6 mastabas on top of one another, which totally dominated the landscape and had the appearance of the first pyramid.
This 62-meter tall pyramid is one of the most famous monuments of ancient Egypt. The pharaoh Djoser would be eternally grateful to Imhotep. He even had Imhotep's name engraved at the base of one of his own statues, now at the Museum of Cairo, and of which only the feet remain, a testament to the architect's immense renown under Djoser.
It was an immense honor to be mentioned on the king's own statue. Being engraved in stone meant that Imhotep's name would last all eternity. In other words, it was immortalized in the afterlife.
It is this eminent man, this genius, that Zayawas has been trying to find by excavating the Saqqara Desert. In all likelihood, his tomb shouldn't be very far from his masterpiece. However, Imhotep and his tomb still elude archaeologists from all over the world. This new archaeological campaign is going to its 4th week already. The archaeologists have decided to open a new excavation field east of where Teti's pyramid is situated. Titanic work awaits them, as it will take several seasons to entirely clear out the site and document everything. Zayawas hopes this field will yield a wealth of remains. While the workers are getting on with their job at the excavation site, he goes to the antiquity storage facility. In here are stored all the mummies and treasures retrieved at the excavations while they wait for further in-depth analysis. Today, this coffin is getting on the examination table. It was discovered a few months ago.
Okay.
The very first thing that Zayawas notices is the shape of the hair. It allows him to determine the gender of the buried person.
The mummy, I think it belongs to a woman, and some parts of hieroglyphic inscription giving offering to the gods.
The coffin wood is remarkably well preserved. It could be cedar, which the Egyptians imported from eastern Mediterranean regions, or sycamore fig, a local tree species. Both types of wood were appreciated because they were particularly resistant and could therefore protect the mummies. While many of the finds date back to the late period, this coffin would go even further back in time.
It looks also older. It's New Kingdom, 1550 BC.
The New Kingdom is the golden age of the Egyptian civilization. The most sumptuous monuments were built during this prosperous period, such as the magnificent tombs of the Valley of the Kings, the Karnak Sanctuary in Luxor, and the grandiose mortuary temple in Hatshepsut at Deir el-Bahari. The discovery of a coffin from that period enables Zayawas to make out magnificent treasures concealed in the lined bandages.
I like this one because it's complete, it's in a good condition, and I hope the mummy will be also in a good condition. Yalla, doctor.
Will the mummy have survived the ages? The time has come to carefully open this coffin that is over 3,000 years old.
Yeah, okay. Oh, good afternoon, Mrs. X. Okay, good mummification. The linen is perfect.
During the New Kingdom, the art of mummification was perfectly mastered. For over a millennium, the Egyptians had been enhancing their expertise in body conservation.
There really was this desire of the entire nation to conserve bodies so they could be symbolically used in the afterlife. We must bear in mind that according to their belief, ancient Egyptians needed their bodies to live after death. If their bodies were reduced to dust, their souls, their ka, as they called it, would also die. So they had to preserve their bodies.
To keep a body in perfect condition, embalmers removed the organs and then covered the body in natron, a salt which absorbed all humidity. The corpse was then swaddled with bandages. Thanks to Egypt's very dry climate, the embalmed bodies could last through millennia without a problem.
The coffin is big. It's bigger than the mummy. This is good. Yalla, doctor. Let's start the X-ray.
Zayawas is going to employ X-ray analysis, a non-invasive technique to analyze this mysterious mummy. All the parts of the body are photographed one by one. This digital plate will send the images directly to the computer.
Any reason in the skull?
No. The skull was completely evacuated from internal organs, but also the abdomen was evacuated in a complete mummification and embalming process.
Okay.
They didn't use too much resin for the body. That's why we have a good condition of the textile and the body as well.
Human remains are just absolutely wonderful because they really tell you a true story of someone's life.
After a few minutes, the young woman's entire skeleton appears, bringing with it many questions.
Now, tell me, how old was she when she died?
So young.
So young?
18 years.
No.
18 years, because the third molar is still not erupted yet.
18 years old?
18, 19 years.
That's a particularly young age, even if life expectancy at the time was 35 to 40 years at most. So what could have caused her death? The archaeologist's attention is immediately drawn to an initial clue.
The teeth this in a very bad condition.
How? She's young. If she's 18 years old, if her teeth is bad?
Is bad, yes. There seems that it's something related to the type of the food that she was eating.
Dental infections were common among Egyptians. There were no antibiotics at the time, and while a tooth cavity is pretty benign nowadays, it could have had devastating consequences back then.
once a tooth has got a hole in it and it's not treated, that decay will continue down the tooth and eventually the bacteria will access the bloodstream and it can really lead to sepsis, which is a serious thing which can eventually lead to death.
Blood poisoning caused by a tooth cavity seems like a plausible hypothesis to explain the young woman's death. But the examination of the skeleton isn't over yet, and the investigation continues. Both men suddenly spot a strange shape in the images.
There is amulet here.
Amulet?
Yes.
Oh.
Bess, I think.
Good.
The object they have just discovered is an amulet in the shape of the god Bess, who was depicted as a bearded dwarf with a big head. Bess was a very popular deity in the New Kingdom.
I really believe that they put the god Bess, the god of pleasure and fun, then she can have a pleasant life in the afterlife.
Ah, there is another amulet.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The custom of placing amulets on a dead person's body developed in the Middle Kingdom 2,000 years BC. Those amulets were expected to protect the mummy. Their power was activated through incantations recited by priests at the burial. Some mummies could have up to 150 of them concealed in the bandages.
And there is another amulet as well. There is too much amulets.
Where? What kind of amulet is this?
Let's enlarge, zoom in. So we have
Zayawas is hoping to find an extremely rare amulet, Imhotep. The architect was divinized several centuries after his death. He was considered to be the god of wisdom and of medicine, and as such, he sometimes accompanied the dead into eternity. This time, however, the amulet found on the mummy represents the eye of the god Horus, or the Ujat eye. In Egypt mythology, the falcon god Horus lost one eye in a battle with his uncle. The god Thoth healed Horus's eye and returned it to him. It then became the symbol of regeneration. The Egyptians had the custom of placing the Eye of Horus amulet on wounds and injuries.
The Eye of Horus is the most important tool for healing. They wanted this lady to be healed in the afterlife. When a person had an accident, they were afraid that he will not go to paradise in the mind of the ancient Egyptian. And this is why they put amulets. The Eye of Horus.
This finding intrigues the two scientists. The young woman necessarily sustained an injury. They look for its mark around the amulet, and they quickly make something out.
This is the heel fracture, also here in broken part of the bone that starts to heal. She couldn't walk, and maybe this causes an inflammation, for instance, a bacterial infection in the place of the broken bones. From this, we would assume that she didn't survive after this accident more than 1 or 2 months.
Quite an unexpected turn of events. While they look into the hypothesis of a dental infection being the cause of death, they suddenly realize that they've been pursuing the wrong lead.
For sure, that fracture made an infection and caused her death. For sure.
While X-ray images enable the Egyptologist to establish what caused the young woman's death, an infection following a fracture, only part of the story can be pieced together, as it's impossible to know what caused that fracture.
Maybe she did fall down, maybe someone hit her. We really do not know what happened. Then we can have many speculations.
The cause of her death will remain forever a mystery. Even though the Egyptians of antiquity failed to save that young woman, it is, however, a proven fact that they had advanced medical knowledge since the Old Kingdom. Imhotep himself was identified as the god of medicine by the Greeks nearly 2,000 years after his death. His temple, situated on the island of Philae, was visited by pilgrims, a bit like the sanctuary of Lourdes in France.
People took to his temple representations of body parts that were damaged, hurt, injured, or sick. As Imhotep was the patron god of medicine, by making those offerings, people hoped that he would heal them.
Signs of medical practice can be traced back to the Old Kingdom. The metal tools found in a royal doctor's tomb could be the oldest surgical instruments ever discovered.
The Egyptian could make an amputation to cut the leg of a workman if he had an accident, and we know one person after the surgery lived 14 years.
During the Old Kingdom, the Egyptians started to build colossal monuments. That's when the three famous pyramids were built: Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. The thousands of laborers who worked on those building sites must have been particularly exposed to injuries.
I'm sure many accidents happened to the workers. So I think there was probably an opportunity to learn a lot about fractures, accidents, things that can go wrong on building sites.
The most irrefutable piece of evidence that medicine was mastered in ancient Egypt is the incredible Ebers papyrus. Discovered in 1862 in Luxor, it contains detailed descriptions of examinations, diagnoses, and treatments for several injuries.
It's long, approximately 20 meters long, so it's a massive scroll of papyrus which is covered with some 700 medical treatises, remedies.
This famous papyrus dates back to 1500 BC, yet it contains passages copied from earlier texts that could date back to the 3rd millennium BC.
There are medical texts relating to surgery and diagnosing people with medical conditions that are written in a grammatical style connected to the Old Kingdom.
What's most surprising about this papyrus is the fact that one of the authors of its texts could be Imhotep, the man Zahi has been after for years. The discoveries he's been accumulating may allow him to find out more about the life of this mysterious man. Zahi has already unearthed dozens of coffins and sarcophagi, and each of them renews his hopes of unlocking part of the mystery surrounding Imhotep. Nabil Al-Dalel is an archaeologist and a member of Zahi's excavation team. Today he's exploring for the first time a shaft that he believes to be promising. Only people from the elite classes could afford the construction of a shaft like this one. This is a new opportunity to finally find architect Imhotep's tomb.
Hello everyone. Yes, sir. Hashim. Oh. Take care, Hashim. Oh. Take care, take care. It's very dangerous to work here.
Yes.
Because it may be collapsing any time.
Our film crew has been able to follow them in this maze of tunnels of precarious solidity. A sand cave-in may occur at any time. So we must move along these galleries with utmost care, keeping our ears pricked up for any suspicious noise. The hopeful archaeologists start their search in a narrow passageway 10 meters below ground. Like detectives at a crime scene, they look for any clues that might help them make inroads into their quest.
What is this?
Remains from linen.
Slowly.
That means that there is burials here. Yeah.
The archaeologists are definitely on the right track. They continue investigating when suddenly...
Give me a brush, please.
Brush?
Yeah. Statue.
Perhaps wooden?
I don't know till now. Yeah, maybe wooden.
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, we can see this statue. Think for Ptah Sukar. Ptah Sukar is the main god here in the symmetry of Saqqara. We call Saqqara here Saqqara in Arabic. Saqqara. Why? Because of the god of Bitah, Sukkar. That god is very famous for the craftsmen.
This deity was placed in tombs in the hope that the deceased could benefit from the god Ptah Sokar's protection to travel smoothly to the world of the dead. This statue dates back to the late period, nearly 2,500 years ago. The desert sand has preserved its wood as well as its colors. The prayers of the deceased to Osiris, the god of the dead, are still visible on the back of this piece.
Here we had a hieroglyphic inscription, means Gemachu, the respected Uzair. Here Uzair, that means that's a person is very respected from Osiris. We are very lucky to find this. Yeah, thanks for Allah.
This splendid statue is leaving the tomb definitively so it can be restored. Then it will be put on display for the public to admire all the talent of ancient Egypt's craftsmen. The statue of Ptah Sokar is often found in tombs. It usually has a pair of ram's horns with 2 ostrich feathers on top of them. And it represents 2 gods combined, Ptah, the god of craftsmen, and Sokar, the god of the dead. Ptah and Sokar were progressively merged into one god, like a sort of hybrid deity that would accompany the deceased on their final journey. All archaeologists are motivated by the same thing: finding remains of the Egyptian civilization, studying, restoring, and displaying them to the public. After discovering the statue, Nabil Al-Dalal is persuaded that the shaft he's exploring still holds numerous treasures.
Hashim, yes, you have to remove this part at first, please.
Yes.
Take care and remove it carefully from that section. Hashim. Oh, piece of Ochapti.
Oh.
Ushaptis are amulets that represent funerary servants. For the Egyptians of antiquity, the afterlife was a bucolic paradise where the deceased were supposed to till the land. In order to escape farming chores, the wealthiest had Ushaptis to work for them.
Essentially, they are substitute workers or perhaps servants for the deceased, if you're wealthy enough, provided with one for every single day of the year.
Every day in the year, I have one person to do what I have to do instead of me.
It was also necessary to add a foreman Ushapti for every 10 statuettes. Entire Ushapti armies have been found in some tombs. For example, there were 413 of them in Tutankhamun's tomb. They may have been made from terracotta, stone, wood, or earthenware.
Let's have it again from, I think, from the Middle Kingdom and continue till the Greek-Roman period.
Most importantly, this discovery indicates that there is a body buried here. They pursue their search to unearth the coffin, and their efforts pay off. After several hours digging underground, they finally find what the archaeologist was looking for: a magnificent carved wooden coffin.
It's dated to the late period. It still have some colors, special colors, and we will use the restoration department. Then we will see if we want to making a scan about the mummy inside it.
The archaeologist will have to wait a while until he can decipher the mysteries of the person who was buried here. But this tomb has already fulfilled some of his hopes through the discovery of a coffin, a statue, and several Ushaptis. splendors that were thought to be lost in the sands of the desert for all eternity. If the Saqqara necropolis complex is a treasure chest, it is because the Egyptians attached great importance to their resting place.
All those people seriously wanted to prepare for life after death, and that entailed a number of beliefs as well as